How does Wall Street get to push its agenda when it's so unpopular this campaign season? As election advertising gets mean under a mountain of anonymous money, the media have been giving us more spin than stable, feet-on-the-ground facts on questions like those. For those of you who are looking for the facts behind the fury, we've launched a new series, GRITtv Digs. And this week, we're looking at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Who is it? Who funds it? And how did it get to be such a powermonger in Washington? Produced by Hanbury, this is part one of The Loaded Chamber. Secret money.
Hey, hey, ho, ho! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Foreign money has got to go! Foreign money has got to go!
In the endgame of the 2010 midterms, Democrats claim the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is funneling secret foreign money into our elections.
An anti-American money bomb.
Nada. No evidence whatsoever.
Is this a smear campaign?
Tens of millions of dollars in the front groups.
Or a smoking gun?
Is it to the general account?
And what questions have the media ignored about the money behind Washington's most powerful lobby? Before we get to the issue of foreign money, let's start with a more basic question. Do you know what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is?
Probably should.
Well, I mean, I know more on the local side, just different businesses, local community, from the local community get together.
It gives support to American businesses and business people, and it's basically there for us to stimulate the economy and make things grow.
People have a very good feeling about the Chamber of Commerce.
Most people think of the U.S. Chamber as their local Chamber of Commerce. They think of the sponsor of the local Little League team. They think of some sort of civic league akin to the Elks Lodge.
When I go to a new town, I know I look for the Chamber of Commerce to find a map, to find, how do I get around? What are the attractions? And the local chambers of commerce are there to cater to the people in the town, the businesses in the town, and to make sure that the commerce rolls. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is a completely different entity. It's based in Washington, D.C. It has this beautiful building that's across from the White House.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is a massive organization that often has no ties to those local chambers.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce spends more than any other entity in Washington, D.C. on lobbying and politics. In 2009, they spent $144 million on lobbying, which is more than the next 5 largest lobbyists combined. They actually outspent both political parties. It's the first time ever that another entity has outspent the political parties on politics.
They have emerged in the last couple of years as really a third-party force in U.S. politics.
Their budget is $200 million this year. That's an extraordinary amount of money in the middle of a recession.
What's more, because the Chamber is a 501c6 trade association, it doesn't pay any taxes, and it doesn't have to report where any of its money comes from.
It has to disclose dollar amounts of its contribution, but doesn't have to disclose who made the contributions.
For the past 13 years, Chamber President and CEO Tom Donahue has courted huge, often multinational corporations, while claiming to represent all of American business. Last October, Mother Jones revealed that the Chamber under Donahue has been exaggerating its membership rolls 15-fold, claiming 3 million members, while the real number is probably closer to 200,000. The Chamber's website admits that of the nation's 7,000 state and local chambers of commerce, only 249 are accredited with the U.S. Chamber.
The Chamber is really trying to dupe the American public more than anyone else. I mean, they're trying to depict themselves as having, millions of business members that belong to the Chamber when they really don't.
What the U.S. Chamber of Commerce focuses on are the biggest businesses and where the Chamber can raise the most money.
Banks, insurers, energy companies, and firms that defer income tax on profits earned abroad.
Major multinational corporate interests. It does not reflect the business community in general.
Donahue often claims that 96% of the Chamber's members are small businesses, but that deserves closer scrutiny too.
In 2008, the last year where we have tax figures available, the U.S. Chamber got 40% of its income from just 26 members.
That is who they respond to. That is whose interest they are looking out for. They're not looking out for Main Street America, not for the small businesses of this country.
Their value to their members is that the members can hide behind the name, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So if I'm a big bank and I want to oppose financial reform, I don't have to go out there myself. I can have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce opposing financial reform, which makes it sound like your mom and pop store down the street is opposing financial reform, not the biggest banks in the world.
On October 21st, the New York Times revealed several of the Chamber's biggest donors. But since Tom Donahue took over in 1997, he's pursued a fundraising strategy premised on secrecy.
It's well documented now that he instituted a pay-to-play scheme or a views for dues scheme.
If corporations provide money, Tom Donahue and the Chamber of Commerce will then take the positions that are helpful to that company. And so that company in return gets to anonymously have someone else spouting its views and taking its positions without making the company really accountable for those positions.
That's what the U.S. Chamber does. That's what they specialize in doing. And though Donahue won't put it in these words, he more or less admits that that's what they do.
Referring to the Chamber's corporate members, Tom Donahue actually told reporter James Verini, "I want to give them all the deniability they need." Take healthcare reform. During the summer of 2009, America's largest insurance companies were saying they supported the president's plans. But journalist Peter Stone uncovered that those same companies were giving $10 to $20 million to the Chamber to run ads like this one attacking reform.
Government control over your health. Tell Congress, let's slow down and reform health care the right way.
And when Chamber member BP faced a PR nightmare in the Gulf of Mexico, CEO Tony Hayward publicly professed his commitment to do the right thing.
That we do the right thing, we do it the right way, and we communicate in an open and transparent way.
Meanwhile, Tom Donahue argued against lifting the paltry liability cap of $75 million.
It's generally not the practice of this country to change the laws after the game.
He even suggested that taxpayers might pay to clean up BP's mess.
We're going to have to get the money from the government and from the companies, and we'll figure out a way to do that.
Tom Donahue's brand of hardball backroom politics has driven many members away. Last year, when the Chamber rejected the scientific consensus about global warming and lobbied against a climate bill in Congress, Nike quit the board, and Apple and several other companies quit altogether. New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman wrote, "All shareholders in America should ask their CEOs why they still belong to the Chamber."
You know, we have to send a message to the businesses that are writing those checks to the Chamber, because that's the only way they'll listen. And the businesses that are part of the Chamber either need to insist on more responsible policies or get out. You can't have it both ways. You can't want the influence that the Chamber provides you and yet the appearance that you're a nice, responsible business. It won't work, it's not going to work, and either the Chamber is going to change or it's going to die.
These may be the worst of times for Tom Donahue, but they are also the best of times, thanks to the Supreme Court's decision last January in the Citizens United case. By a 5-4 vote, the court ruled that corporations can spend unlimited amounts on ads for or against candidates, and that made corporations looking for anonymous influence all the more eager to funnel money through the Chamber.
Right after the ruling, Tom Donahue announced that the Chamber's campaign budget for congressional candidates and judicial candidates was going to be $50 million this year. That was about a 40% increase over the previous year in which they were making political expenditures. And so much money apparently has been flowing into the Chamber's coffers that now Tom Donahue has upped it another 50%. And the political budget at this point is $75 million.
So what has happened as a result of Citizens United is corporations have donated money to the Chamber of Commerce, which then runs very negative ads against members of Congress, probably who have taken a position against an interest that a specific corporation has. And the corporation is never held accountable or responsible. And these ads, by the way, are full of lies. They are not accurate. They state that members of Congress and candidates have positions that they don't have, that they've taken actions that they haven't taken. And people should be very concerned about who's funding these kind of lies and what their motivation is and what they're hoping that the next congressman will do, and will that person then do, because they too are afraid of having these kind of ads run against them.
Tell Richard Blumenthal to stop. His job-killing lawsuits are hurting Connecticut families. The U.S. Chamber is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So far in this election season, 93% of the Chamber's ads have supported Republican candidates or attacked Democrats, the latest evidence of a long-term trend under Tom Donahue toward alignment with the GOP.
The Chamber of Commerce has become more and more an arm of the Republican Party, much closer to the Republican Party, as opposed to just being a representative of its business interests.
The partisan divide was on display in Congress this year during the debate over the Disclose Act, a bill intended to undo some of the worst effects of Citizens United.
Voters have a right to know when they see an ad going on with a nice-sounding name, the Fund for a Better America. They have a right to know who's paying for it. They have a right to know if BP's paying for it. They have a right to know if any corporation or big bucks individual is paying for it.
This Disclose Act is not about reform.
The Disclose Act passed the House, but in the Senate, Mitch McConnell kept a single Republican senator from breaking a filibuster, and he got some help from an intense lobbying push on the part of you-know-who.
The Chamber is dead set against the Disclose Act. The Chamber's primary purpose is not just to have corporate involvement in elections and corporate financing of elections. The Chamber wants to serve as the stealth coalition for all this corporate money to be laundered into elections. It can provide cover for its individual corporate sponsors and use unlimited corporate money to influence elections. They want secrecy. And so the Chamber's number one priority, one of their main priorities, is to try to kill the Disclose Act.
Coming up in Part 2, how Tom DeLay's former lawyer and companies that specialize in outsourcing have helped Tom Donahue fill the Chamber's election war chest.